Good morning and welcome to Living Local 15. I'm Jessica Williams and happy Friday to you all. It's a celebration because we made it through the end of the week, so cheers to that. We have a fun show for you today. I am taking you behind the scenes, or rather behind the bottle, at Edwin Coe Spirits. We are going to see the distillery process take place and learn how spirits are made. And later, I speak with WANE 15's Greg Shoup about his recent genealogy journey. He is adopted and shares with us his adventure of uncovering his past through DNA apps and research. That and more happening now.
Fashion, food, and fun. You're watching Living Local 15 with your host, Jessica Williams.
This segment sponsored by Edwin Coe Spirits. I am here at Edwin Coe Spirits, located in Churubusco, Indiana, and today we're going to get a really fun lesson on how spirits are made. I am taking you inside of their distillery to see how the special sauce is made, meaning how they go from grain to bottle to the shelves for you to enjoy at home. This is going to be so much fun. Let's do it. Joining me now is Joe Collins, the owner here at Edwin Coe Spirits, and dare I say, master distiller?
Yep.
Yes, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Good. Okay, so I'm so excited because we're going to get a sneak peek at this whole process. So give me a little background. How long have you been distilling?
I've been distilling since 2012, October, in my garage. So bootlegging, it's illegal across the entire United States, but it's fun, so. Yeah.
So you're just gonna confess it here right now?
Can't get in trouble now.
You're past that point. So what made you decide to just mix the ingredients or learn how to ferment out of your garage?
So I'd made beer a couple times, craft beer is huge, and it wasn't really my thing, but for my wedding present for my wife, she got me some of my great-grandpa's original product and both of his apprentices, and a lot of really cool memorabilia about him. And so I thought, I shouldn't let the recipe die with Grandpa, so I'm gonna pick it up and start distilling.
Start distilling, okay. And so since 2016, you've had your business, which has been 7 years, which is so incredible. And I know that you have really picked up on distilling so many types of spirits. I mean, you have such a wide range. About how many liquors do you offer?
Right now, 8.
8, okay, that's incredible. And so, but there's a process when you start in Indiana. You actually have to master it before you can actually serve it to the public like you do now in your tasting room.
Yeah, I mastered it in the garage. I took my licks in the garage, and then once I thought I was ready, I decided to go ahead and open a distillery. I really just got the bug. I started as a hobby, and I've turned my hobby into my job, but that's why I make 8 different products. I always think, I'd really just start making a gin, or I started like to make this or that, and so I just go ahead and figure out how to make it.
Yeah, and then you had to wait 3 years before you can open up your tasting room, and so we're here at your whole facility, which is so nice. I've told you before, it's so rustic and it's so comfortable and welcoming. And so at your location, you have the distillery behind us, but then you also offer a wide range of cocktails and tastings, right?
Absolutely. So we offer a vodka, gin, 2 types of rum, of course my great-grandfather's Prohibition whiskey, our Old Co, a high rye bourbon, a rye Old Co, a honey Old Co, and now a maple Old Co.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it starts off from a grain. So I'm so curious, is it hard to do so many different types of spirits, to produce them from scratch?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm self-taught, so I had to figure everything out on my own. But yes, you take grain that's field corn for whiskey typically, and for the vodka, and you have a mash that's basically the consistency of oatmeal, and you turn that into clean, clear vodka through the distilling process. Wow. So yeah, it's definitely not something to mess around with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't wait. We're gonna go step by step. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, Joe, so we're here by the mash cooker. So what takes place?
So here's where we cook all of our grains. So we heat the water up to boiling to sanitize the mash cooker and sanitize the water itself. And then we'll add in about 700 pounds of grain to 300 gallons of water.
Wow.
Put in my enzymes, which break down the long starch chains into smaller little pieces. And then we'll put it into one of the fermenters, cool it off, and add the yeast.
Oh.
And the yeast is what really makes everything happen. That's what eats the sugar and turns it into alcohol.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this kind of does the fermenting process all within itself?
No, I'll transfer it out so I
Okay.
can mash the next day with
And mash
something
it.
else. Yeah.
And then how does it work? So this lifts up.
So that lifts up, put about 150 gallons of water in there, boil the water off. Yeah.
Can we lift it? Oh, wow.
Has an impeller in there so you can keep everything mixed up in the solution.
So cool.
Yeah. And then we'll just pump it out and crash cool it, we call it.
Yeah.
So drop the temperature really quickly. Anyone in the food industry knows that 140 to, I think it's 40 degrees is where the bacteria likes to take over.
Okay.
And so even though everything's been sanitized, wild bacteria still get in. So you want to crash cool it really quickly and let the yeast take over first.
Oh, okay. So since you make 8 different spirits here, how many can this machine make it at a time?
I can do one 300 gallon mash at a time.
Okay,
So
one
I can do one
mash.
300 gallon mash every day.
Okay, and so they each start with a different type of grain.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go off like each of them. Tell me what grain goes
So
with what.
vodka's corn. I make corn-based vodka since we're in Indiana corn.
Yes.
The soft gin is also corn-based because you make vodka and then you add the botanicals to it, redistill it, and so you have essential oil vodka, which is what gin is.
Okay.
Rum is cane or cane byproduct, so I use certified organic sugar cane, so I make a big batch of simple syrup basically.
Yes.
And then whiskeys are 100% rye, or I'm sorry, 100% grain.
Okay.
So like the high rye bourbon is,
Like wheat grain?
you can add wheat. I don't
Okay.
add wheat in mine. I like things spicier, so I add rye instead.
Okay.
So corn makes it buttery, round, smooth, sweet. That's why bourbon is really popular because it's by law it has to be 51% corn. And so usually it's about 75% corn, so it's a little sweeter, a little smoother. Rye whiskey is really dry and spicy.
Yeah.
And so that's why I made my high rye bourbon. It's a little sweet and a little spicy. So yeah.
That's cool. That's so cool to learn because I do enjoy bourbon more than rye. And I'm not sure why, but it has to be those notes of the corn
Yep.
in it that makes it good. Because I'm like, okay, bourbon, vodka, good. I'm not much of a gin drinker or the other stuff. So I think the palates kind of align.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, so we've mashed it up. How long does this step take?
4 to 5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a
Okay.
long process at all. Once the water is boiling, you need to let the grain sit in there with the enzymes for about an hour.
Okay.
And then we'll transfer it out, crash cool it. That takes about 2 hours.
Okay.
And then we'll pitch in the yeast and the nutrients for the yeast.
Okay, so how do you transfer it out and what does it go in next?
Just this open port right here.
Oh, okay.
Transfer it right out into a fermenter, just like one of these IBC totes here,
Okay.
but the 300 gallon. That one's filled with low wines right now. So that would be the next step of the process.
So is there like a tube that just kind of runs like?
Yeah, so these tubes on the wall over here is
Yes.
what we'll transfer it out, and then there's a transfer pump back over here.
Okay, so we've mashed it, transferred it.
So now we're gonna ferment it for about
Okay.
6 days, give or take.
And where does it ferment in? Is it in one of these containers?
Yeah, there's a couple back here. They're empty right now because I'm getting ready to process low wines, and that'll take several days, so I don't want to mash yet.
Yeah.
Then there's one over around the corner, one around in this corner. The distilling space in Edwin Coe is pretty tight, so we kind of do everything wherever. All the barrels are all full. They're hanging out up there because we're just out of space.
Okay.
So from there, we'll take the ferment and we'll put it in the still, and we'll run it through once, basically just really quickly, about as fast as we can. We're
and
not.
this is the still.
This is
big
the still,
machine. Okay,
yes.
let's go over to the still.
Yeah.
So now we're at the still, which is so beautiful. I have to tell you that they look like oversized flutes.
Yeah.
Like, ba-doop, ba-doop. And you have a name for yours.
This one is Thelma.
Okay.
You name them after your grandmothers, and Thelma was Coe's daughter, who I was really close with, so we named this one Thelma.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
And so we ferment it now, and it goes into this place. So how do you transfer it into the still?
Same thing with a transfer
With that,
pump and
okay.
the hoses. Yep. And so we're gonna put it in here. We're gonna do a stripping run, or a beer stripping run. So what we've technically made is beer. We've made a grain ferment, which is
Okay.
technically beer.
Okay.
So we're gonna do a beer stripping run, and we're just gonna burn it through the still as fast as possible. And all we're doing is really separating the liquids from the solids, more or less, and getting what we call high wines, which is about 100 proof alcohol, but there's not been any cuts done. It's not refined whatsoever.
Okay.
And then once we have 300 gallons, this is a 300 gallon vessel here. So once we have 300 gallons of low wines, then we'll transfer it back. And we'll start using all these nice bubble cap plates and sight glass windows.
Oh, okay, so you have to tell me, once you put it in here before, when you say it's beer, before you transition it, could you just make beer at that point if you wanted to from that step?
Yes, it'd be the worst
Oh.
tasting beer you've ever had.
Well, we don't want that.
No, it's technically beer because it's made from grain, but it's,
Okay.
it's awful.
But it's not
Yeah, you
the
wouldn't wanna
finished
drink it.
product.
No,
Okay.
no.
And so you say you wrap it around and then you start to create the plain flute.
Yeah, so each one of these sight glasses has a bubble cap plate in it, and that's basically one level of distillation. So if you're using a pot still, you'd have to run whiskey through 2 or 3 times. Vodka, you'd have to run it through 15 to 20 times. Wow. So instead, each one of these is a temperature differential. So the boiling point of each plate is a little bit lower as you go up and up and up, and so it concentrates the alcohol.
Okay.
And so as you go up through the column, this is the whiskey column, and then you go over to the vodka column, and it'll start transferring up. And by the time you get to the top of the vodka column, it'll be coming out at 192.5 proof.
Oh, wow. And so as that's happening, can you see it like in each of the holes?
Yeah, you can see it bubbling and boiling in the holes.
That's so cool.
Yep.
Okay, so what's next?
So then we'll be collecting it out of the parrot beak at the end. And like I said, with vodka, it'll be by law, it'll have to be over 190 proof, whiskey under 160 proof. From there, we'll collect it all, and then we'll proof it down with purified reverse osmosis water. Either down, if it's whiskey, down to 120 or so to put in the barrels. And then if it's vodka, gin, rum, down to whatever we're gonna bottle it at.
Okay, and I have to tell y'all, this is super hot. So you have to proceed with caution when you're going on distillery tours. Okay, so next the barrels?
Next the barrels, yes.
Okay, let's go over there.
All right.
All right, now on to the barrels. And this is actually a step that people get to see when they come in and dine in with you and have their little cocktail hour. So tell me about all of these barrels that's behind us.
So all these barrels are filled with aging whiskey. So once we distill it and we've proofed it down to about 120 proof, we're gonna place it in these barrels. They're new American white oak barrels, charred to a level 3 or 4, depending on the cooperage.
Okay.
But now they're gonna rest for about 2 years.
Really?
Yeah, or over.
I wasn't expecting that. 2 years?
Yeah. So what's happening is once they char the inside of the barrel, there's all kinds of sugars from the sap.
Yeah.
And you want those sugars to break down, you want the alcohol to break down those sugars and absorb into the alcohol, along with a lot of other really pleasant flavors. So about 60% of the flavor comes from the barrel of whiskey.
And I see different sizes, so what makes the size variations?
We used to get our 15-gallon barrels when we first started from Ann Gray Cooperage, which is out of Fort Wayne, and they were a casualty of COVID, so they just shut down. Which at the same time I was getting ready to upgrade to the 53 gallons anyhow. And so now we get the same wood, because the wood from Ann Gray came from Canton, and so now we use Canton barrels.
Okay, awesome. So all of them sit for 2 years. So each of the 8 spirits each have to sit and
Just the
rest.
aged spirits. So barrel-aged rum, high rye bourbon, Old Co, rye Old Co, the honey and maple also. They have to sit for a minimum of 2 years.
Okay, so what about the vodka and gin?
They're ready as soon as they're off the still.
Oh, so they never go into the barrels?
Nope, anything that's clear on the shelf has not been aged, and it just goes from grain or from sugar straight to the bottle.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, next. So after you wait 2 years, such a patient process you have to have, what's next? The bottling?
Then we'll bottle.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, now on to the final step, the bottling with this really cool machine. So walk me through this process.
So this is a 6-head gravity-fed bottler. So we'll just fill it with about 20 gallons each time and have a transfer pump that pumps in, filters everything. Filters out any carbon dust from the barreling process or anything like that. And then we'll just put the bottles under and they'll just fill themselves up.
Oh, automatically?
Yeah.
And does it know how far to go?
Yeah, there's little holes in there, and so once it hits that, it's a vapor lock, and so it'll just turn itself off.
Oh,
Yeah.
This is so cool, we're bottling. This has to be the funnest step, is it?
It's the most tedious step.
Really, why?
Well, you're just spending all day just bottling and labeling,
Okay.
hundreds and hundreds of bottles.
Yes.
That's where a good audiobook really comes in handy.
Okay, yeah. Or a good intern.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that's it?
Yep.
A beautiful sealed final product, and your product is actually available in stores and restaurants and of course in your tasting room.
Absolutely.
Yes, so awesome, all right. So we can't do this whole process without tasting the product. We work so hard. Cheers to you, Joe.
Cheers.
Thank you for showing us the process.
No problem.
Ooh,
A little high rye bourbon. Yeah, it's got a little
is
heat on it.
good.
Yeah.
cinnamony.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Cinnamon
good
pepper.
stuff.
Some people say mint.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can taste the mint in it.
I don't taste mint either, but some people say rye tastes like mint.
Right,
Yeah.
so you all have to come in and taste it for yourself and let us know what you think. Edwin Coe Spirits is located in Churubusco, Indiana. We'll be sure to have their website listed below, and I'll see you after the break. This segment sponsored by Edwin Coe Spirits.
Follow us on social media at Living Local 15.
WANE 15's very own meteorologist Greg Shoup is joining me today, not to talk about weather, but to share about his recent genealogy journey. Also joining us is Betsy Gephardt from the Northeast Indiana Genealogy Society. Hello, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, so we're going to dive into some DNA today, which is very exciting. So Greg, you have went on this recent journey, which was something that you wanted to kind of uncover your roots because you're adopted.
Right, yeah, and I'd known about my mother's roots, my birth mother's roots. I had no idea about my birth father's roots. So I started on this journey, and I would say to anybody that's going to start on this journey, be prepared for anything and everything. It's an emotional roller coaster. You're going to find out things that you never imagined.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea what my genealogy was, what my DNA was. My parents had kind of always told me a cover story, which is fine, about, none of it was true. So I decided to, at some point, I decided I really want to find out what's going on.
Right. Okay, so did you know all of your life that you were adopted?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
I knew that I was adopted. I just never really had any interest in delving into it.
Right.
And for some reason, as I got older, I just wanted to know. And it turned into a very complicated and convoluted story that I never expected.
Right.
Never in a million years. I got to meet a whole different group of people that I'm related to, but the whole process was mind-blowing.
So tell me, how long did this process take from the beginning to when you started to receive the data and the information?
Well, it started. It was about a 2-year process.
Wow.
The first thing that happened, which was kind of amazing, I got my DNA testing done, put it up on Ancestry as public, and within, I'd say, a week, I found out that I had a sister that I never knew. She knew I existed. I never knew she existed before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so where's your origins? Like, where are you from, or where are you born?
The one side of the family is from Russia. And they fled Russia and they moved to Great Britain. From Great Britain, part of the family went to South Africa. I think there was one that went to Australia, and then the rest of them came to America.
Wow.
One of the things that made it very complicated was that my great-grandfather changed his name when he was on the boat and got here and became William Fraser when he was here, and his real name was Abraham Kisselhoff. So that was difficult for us to figure out, and I had a professional genealogist through a group called Search Angels, and she deals a lot with Jewish roots. And so she was able to find my story out.
It's so fascinating, and you will be sharing about this story this weekend at the upcoming Genealogy Society event. So Betsy, share with us about the Northeast Indiana Genealogy Society.
It's actually the Northeast Indiana Jewish Genealogy Society, and we are 5 years old now, and we have an annual open house called Meet Your Mishpocha. Mishpocha is Yiddish for family, community, and we have that every year, and that's coming up on Sunday morning, where we try to provide lots of genealogy resources, especially Jewish, but also not Jewish. And we're excited to have Greg share his story because that connects all the dots for us. We have people that are experts in adoptive genealogy and DNA and just traditional Jewish genealogy. And we're also providing, for instance, we'll have scanners there on Sunday if you want to bring documents and photographs to digitize, we do that. We have people from the Indiana Jewish Historical Society will be there, and we're also providing a door prize. We'll have a DNA kit, free DNA kit, that the thank you to the Public Library's Genealogy Center for helping us with that. So they're also very involved with us.
Yeah, one of the
That's
things
exciting.
that you might not know too is that Fort Wayne has the second biggest genealogy database in the United States.
Really?
People come from all over the world to Fort
Yes.
Wayne to look at the genealogy resources.
Wow, that's incredible. And so, Greg, what can people expect when they come out to see you this weekend? You'll be speaking. The event is from 10:30 to 12:30.
I'm gonna talk about my family tree and the origins of where my people came from, how they escaped the Russian regime, how they moved to England, and then finally how they came to America. And like I said, it's a mind-blowing process, and
Right.
it's something that you have to be really prepared for, and you have to expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I get a whole new group of people that I didn't know before,
Right.
that are related to me or that have things in common that I never knew I had in common with,
Right.
and that has been, it's just been very enlightening to me.
Well, it sounds very exciting. Congratulations on just taking that journey and now knowing your new family members and just
Yeah.
knowing about your history. I mean, it's something that we all deserve. And I appreciate the tips that you gave. Be prepared and expect the unexpected.
Absolutely.
All right. So thank you so much, Greg, Betsy, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Yes. And if you would like more information about this event coming up on Sunday from 10:30 to 12:30, we'll have the website and information listed below. And we'll be right back.
Living Local 15, proudly driven by the Kelly Automotive Group.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you can always rewatch episodes or segments of Living Local 15 by going to WANE.com or downloading the WANE app. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your Friday and have an amazing weekend. And remember this, it's never too late to live your best life, so start living it this weekend. And I look forward to seeing you here on Monday. Bye-bye.
Content segments during today's Living Local 15 were paid for by these sponsors.